Hello everyone, this is ACHAIA Akaya, and we are on Game 3 of the Go4SC2 Series 7 tournament of the finals here, and we are seeing ZpuX versus TheLittleOne. At this point, the series is tied up 1-1. If you have not watched the first two games, definitely check those out. The last game was absolutely incredible. The Zerg player ZpuX started off with some very early pressure on the natural expansion of the Protoss player. He went for a bit of an old school build, where basically you block off with your gateways in your forge at the choke by your natural so that you can get an early expansion out on the Zerg player. And he was actually able to successfully defend that. It was very, very bleak for him at one point where it seemed like the Zerg player was just basically going to overrun him, but somehow through the miracle of micro, he was able to hold it off. And I think that was actually really what turned it around for the TheLittleOne, because there was a lot of little battles going on all over the place between 1 and 2 different units, and it seems like the TheLittleOne just was able to out micro ZpuX in that, because he was definitely outnumbered. And the TheLittleOne, of course, was able to hold that off and did take down the game with his very, very strong Protoss army, using a lot of Immortals and a lot of Stalkers and a lot of Colossi, which are very, very powerful against the Roach Hydra build that ZpuX was basically committing himself to that game. And it looks like the TheLittleOne is actually going to do a pretty similar build this game. Steps of War is actually not a map that I see people try to do a fast expansion on a lot. The reason being is because the rush distance is so short that it is very, very easy to get overwhelmed if you try to expand earlier than you should, because basically it's a two-player map, so both players know where the other one spawns. And of course, as you can see here, the amount of distance by ground between the two bases is not a whole lot. There's basically a very small area of neutral ground between these, and then of course you're right in each other's naturals. So this could be a little bit of a dangerous move for the TheLittleOne. The spawning pool is out for ZpuX at this point, and taking a look at the production overlay here, we can see that he's starting to produce Zerglings at this point. He does have one queen on the way. So he's going to have those extra larvae here to start cranking out Zerglings. Although there is one Zealot and one probe outside of the Zerg player base, he is going to put some early pressure on the Zerg player. And ZpuX, with 2 Zerglings out right now, is going to be forced to retreat because this Zealot can easily take on 2 Zerglings. In StarCraft 2, you can actually use 1 Zealot to take on 4 Zerglings if it's controlled properly. And we are going to see an early Roach Warren from the Zerg player again. His queen coming out and immediately putting down those extra larvae so that he can continue to macro up. And once again, you can see the TheLittleOne has gone for that Nexus, which this is a very risky move on such a small map that is known for using a lot of rush strategies on this map because of how small it is. The Zerg player going to be able to take out that scouting probe pretty easily. I'm not sure if he was able to see that Roach Warren yet. We'll take a look here. No, he did not. So that probe was actually just barely sniped in time, able to keep him from scouting this Roach Warren. So that could be a problem for the TheLittleOne moving into the game here a little bit further if he is not able to block off this entrance very effectively, although he does have a forge down and a pylon. So at this point, a very narrow choke point at the entrance of this base, and he is getting down a cannon right now. 3 Zealots will be able to easily hold off these 4 Zerglings. So the question is going to be if enough Roaches can get down here for ZpuX in time to take this Protoss entrance on. And it looks like ZpuX is actually going to try to commit to taking that out early in the game rather than going into a late game, because he has not expanded himself. So he's basically leaving himself with no option other than to basically try to break down the Protoss player's wall early enough that he can take this game without having to expand himself and force it into a longer macro game. And it looks like the Zergling's trying to move out to try to draw those Zealots away from his base, but the TheLittleOne not taking the bait. So he's going to move into the Zerg player's base, and the Zerg player pulling down his Zerglings. He is going to have plenty of Zerglings and a couple of Roaches getting in the mix here too. So he's going to take down these 3 Zealots no problem. Although with 2 cannons up at the entrance and a 3rd one going down right now, I don't think that he is going to be able to break this entrance with the small force that he does have. And it looks like we actually may have... Yeah, there's basically a hard wall off all the way across. There may be a small gap between the pylon and the forge here. It's kind of hard to tell right now, but it looks like there may be a slight gap there. But of course, another cannon there going down rather. So he's going to have 4 cannons at this entrance, which is going to be very difficult for the Zerg player to break through. And it looks like he might try. No, he is not going to try to go up there. And that, of course, is not a gap. As you can see, he tried to get through there. Apparently, he thought that that was a gap that he could get through as well, but he was unable to break through that entrance. So it looks like he's going to try to sneak some units through here, but only getting a couple of roaches and a couple of zerglings through. I don't think this is going to be enough to do significant damage, as these probes are able to combine focus fire down those few zerglings, and those roaches are going to get trapped as well. So the roach not able to do a lot of damage. He does take down that zealot, but of course these probes, although some of them injured, mostly are going to survive. And it looks like ZpuX trying frantically to find a way to get into the Protoss player's base, and he did decide to throw down a hatchery. But if he's not able to do some damage in short order, that may be a little bit too late, because at this point the economy for the expansion of the Little One is starting to kick in. And of course the Zerg player has not even gotten his second base up and running yet. He's just now starting it, so that could put him in a very bad position here economically. And it looks like he's going to try to break down these destructible rocks, although it looks like the Little One, I don't know if he's actually aware of this. Okay, he can hear and see that the health of those rocks is going down, and he is putting down more tech buildings, blocking off that entrance. And it looks like that is actually a hard wall off. So the Zerg player, even after breaking these entrances down, not going to be able to get through there, although he cannot see these extra buildings. So basically he's going to break these down and try to run his units in there and sneak through there at some point, I'm guessing. Yeah, he is getting them grouped together now. Going to try to sneak through there, only to find that he cannot get in there because it is walled off. So once again, being blocked at every turn. And the hatchery just now finishing for him. He's going to need to get drones over there very quickly in order to catch up economically, although it looks like a lot of gateways now going down for the Little One. So it's going to be very tough for ZpuX, I'm sorry, to keep up with the Protoss player at this point. And one Overlord is going to get sniped. This is the only Overlord that he had inside of his base scouting right now, it looks like. And he was scouting the main, which doesn't have anything except for a Nexus and a bunch of probes mining minerals and gas. So not getting a whole lot of intel, although I guess he gets pretty much all the intel he needs from trying to break down this front entrance, which he has been unable to do on a few occasions now. And his response to trying to catch up to the Protoss player at this point is going to be throwing down another expansion of his own. So getting a drone out here and putting down a second hatchery. He does have a decent amount of drones saturating the minerals over at the expansion over here as well. So he is trying to catch up economically here pretty quick, although it doesn't look like he has continued to move his tech tree along very much at all. He does have his layer going up, but before he can get Hydralisk or Mutalisk, he is going to need that layer up so that he can produce a Hydralisk Den or a Spire. And at this point, he does not have a whole lot of gas, although getting another extractor up here at his expansion, which is what is necessary for producing those higher tech units, of course. And a pretty sizable army starting to form up for the Protoss player. I do not see a robotics facility, so it doesn't look like he's going to be using the Colossi Immortal strategy that he used in the last game. Basically just going to try to overrun his opponent by using mass stalkers and zealots at this point. He does have a couple sentries, but his primary army composition is basically going to be stalkers and zealots. And it looks like he is going to push up into the Zerg player's base. The Zerg player putting down one more spine crawler. So he's going to have two at this base, although I don't know if it's going to finish before the Protoss player pushes up into his base. He does have a decent amount of roaches, but some great force fields going down, splitting the army in two. And it looks like the Protoss player is going to be able to put some serious pressure on this base. I don't know if it's going to be enough to take it over yet, although more reinforcements coming in right now. That spine crawler goes down very quickly. And I don't think the other one is going to be able to finish before these Zerg roaches run out, although producing more units right now. His third hatchery has gone up, so he will have a little bit of extra production from that. But he is going to be trying to keep up production with a large amount of gateways that the Protoss player does have. And of course he has this pylon outside of the Zerg player's base, so going to be able to continually warp in units right outside of his base and throwing down a couple more great force fields. You can see how useful that is for splitting up the Zerg army and forcing them to basically fight as smaller segmented armies, managing to focus fire down a few of these sentries, although more units constantly being warped in for the Protoss player right now. And the Zerg player is just slowly but surely losing this macro battle because he is just not able to get enough units out. You can see here that in the production menu he is producing a lot of Zerglings, but of course the Protoss player warping in more and more units constantly, pulling all of his drones off the expansion. I don't think there's anything that the Zerg player can do at this point. He's just so far behind, and he does GG. So giving the well played off to the Little One. The Little One has taken the lead now in this series. He is up 2-1. We are going to be moving on to Game 4, and the Little One will have a chance to take down the series and be the champion of this final game if he is able to win 3 games in a row. So he lost the first game, but going 2-0 in the last 2. So if he can take down this third one, he will win the series and be the champion of Series 7 for the Go4SC2 tournament. Let's move on to Game 4.